We rise for the reading of the gospel. The Holy Gospel according to St. Mark, the first chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
A man with leprosy came to him and begged him on his knees, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." Filled with compassion, Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said. "Be clean." Immediately the leprosy left him, and he was cured. Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. "See that you don't tell this to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them." Instead, he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. Yet the people still came to him from everywhere. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Let us confess our Christian faith in the words of the Apostles' Creed as found in our bulletin. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. He descended into hell. The third day he rose again from the dead. He ascended into heaven and sits at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he will come to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the holy Christian church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen. Grace and peace, they are ours. From God our Father through his Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. This morning, I'd like to direct our attention to our Old Testament lesson, where we encounter the army commander Naaman. Naaman was a very successful commander of the troops of the king of Aram. He had won a lot of victories. And because of all the success of his military endeavors, he was well favored. So favored that when Naaman went to ask that he'd like to go to the land of Israel to see this prophet he had heard about, the king didn't hesitate at all. In fact, he sent with him a load of gifts to provide for whoever would heal Naaman. So, Naaman, well, he was more than anxious to go and see this prophet. The reason being is that he had a illness called leprosy. Now, I'm sure many of us have heard of leprosy, but are not totally sure about what it all is. I decided I'd investigate a little bit on the computer, and I Googled some different things just to get a picture of what leprosy looks like. It has some various forms, but many of the pictures showed people that had really bad sores, and some of them had these like bumps, and they're very deformed on their faces and on their skin, and it had to be frustrating for Naaman to have this, because in most of the societies of that day, in many societies even today, if you look like that, you were an outcast. Matter of fact, in that day and age, most of the people would have been restricted to communities outside of the rest of the society, because people were afraid that they would catch this from someone. And it is a mildly contagious disease, but modern medicine has figured out a way of limiting that, and it has a great ability to cure most of it. But for Naaman, the one thing that was probably just frustrating for him was that he had brought so much glory to his country through all of his military endeavors, and yet when anybody would look on him, they would see this man that, well, in a lot of people's opinion, God wasn't too happy with, whoever that God was. So Naaman, most likely, had gone to probably every prophet within his country, probably tried every kind of medicine that was available, probably sought out every possible means of getting cured of this leprosy. I think he must have had enough desire to be cured of this that when it came about to being suggested that he go to Israel, he was willing to do that. No hesitation. He wanted to be whole. Now, the interesting thing is that when Naaman goes, the king sends him with all these gifts. You can read in your gospel lesson there, Old Testament lesson there, about all the stuff that was sent along with Naaman. It was pretty much quite a caravan. And all these different gifts to go, and they arrived at the king of Israel's residence and gave this official letter to the king of Israel and said, "Here, this is the letter from the king. Heal my man. Make him better." Well, the king of Israel had no idea what was going on and knew that he was no kind of healer. But thankfully, there was a prophet in Israel. The prophet that the servant girl in Naaman's household had told him about. Elisha was that prophet. And Elisha heard about the turmoil that the king of Israel found himself in and said to the king, "Send him here. I'll take care of him." And so Naaman and his whole caravan started out, and Naaman was expecting that when he got to Elisha, that Elisha would come out and greet him with all the honor and respect that a military commander with a caravan along with him should be paid. And probably expected that Elisha was going to have everything set up to be doing the sacrifices and all kinds of incense and all this big religious ritual to cure Naaman of his leprosy. Talk about expectations. Elisha didn't do any of that. He sent a messenger to Naaman and had this messenger say to Naaman, "Go dip yourself in the Jordan River 7 times, and you'll be healed." Naaman was not happy at all to be told to go dip himself in this river, this Jordan River, which didn't even apparently compare with the rivers back home in Damascus. Now, again, I got on Google. I wanted to see what these rivers look like. So I got on there and I see these rivers, and they look like rivers to me. But the purpose that they serve within their communities is quite different. The rivers in Damascus that Naaman was referring to, they flow through the communities and they flow under the communities. So that in that area, they have all of this vegetation and irrigation, and it makes that area beautiful because they have the water they need. The Jordan River, well, it flows from the Sea of Galilee down to the Dead Sea, and that's about it. It's a nice river. Jesus was baptized there, but, that was a few years later. And Naaman was like, you got to be kidding me. I could have done this back home in a better river. But the thing is that Naaman had to learn a lesson. I said that Naaman had probably tried every healing situation that he could have found back home. Every god, every healer, every possible medication, but he had not been healed. He had listened to the word of the servant girl that the place to find healing was with the man of God found in Israel. And he had been smart enough to respond to that. Lesson 1, not only for Naaman, but for you and me. When we have problem situations in life, no matter what they be, whether it's leprosy or whatever other difficulty we have in life, take it to God. Now, this lesson was something that, let's fast forward to our gospel lesson. In our gospel lesson, we read about another leper. Another leper who wanted to be healed. Dealing with all the same kind of things that Naaman had dealt with. And I'm sure this leper in our gospel lesson knew all about Naaman and how he had been healed. So when the leper in our gospel lesson heard about Jesus and the healing that he had been doing in that community, that leper in our gospel lesson knew, hey, here's the prophet from God, the man from God, to whom I should go. And for you and me, remember what we just heard about in our children's message. Take your problem to the right person. You got mail, take it to the mailman. You have garbage, take it to the garbage man. If you have a need that only God can meet, go to God. But there's more to go with that. The second part of it is that when God tells us to do something, whether He does it directly or through His servant, do it. Naaman was resistant to going to dip himself 7 times in the Jordan River because that just sounded like foolishness to him. And he thought that somehow Elisha was going to come out and do some great thing. And his servant, who rebuked him for not going to do what the prophet had said to him, now, if the if Elisha had said to you, go out and do some great feat, you would have gone out and done it, wouldn't you have? And Naaman said, oh, yeah, I would have. If Elisha had gone out and told Naaman to go conquer some enemy of Israel, you can put money down that that's what Naaman would have done. But the thing is that Naaman got in his mind that things should be, well, yeah, he'd go to God, but then want to do it his way. And while singing the Frank Sinatra song, I Did It My Way, might sound actually like a lot of people, the truth of the matter is that God wants us to do it his way, because that's how we get healing. In the hospital, I deal with people who give me all kinds of reasons why they don't take the medication the doctor prescribed for them the way that the doctor prescribed it for them. They have all kinds of excuses. And it amazes me when I hear about what their justification is. Now, I know that sometimes taking medication can be a pain in the neck. My family has this hereditary thyroid problem, so every morning I have to take a pill for my thyroid. It's a pain in the neck. Not that taking a pill is hard to take, but I have to wait an hour before I can drink my coffee. And that's the medicine I really want. But you know what? If I want my thyroid to work right, and my thyroid, I found out, does all kinds of stuff to make me function right, then I better take my medication right if I want things to be right. And Naaman finally realized that if he really wanted healing, he better go dip himself in that Jordan River 7 times. We have the opportunity to put our faith and trust in God and to receive from Him the forgiveness of our sins. To have that peace that the world doesn't know. And I know sometimes people will say, well, you can't, what's baptism? You're just throwing some water on them. Well, there's our Jordan River. We only do it 3 times in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Not 7. But that's what God has told us to do. It's the evidence that we are trusting Him. Sometimes people have a hard time with that because they're like Naaman. They want God to either come out and do some great thing and make some big production to show that He has forgiven them. Or they're like Naaman in that they want to go out and do something so that they can somehow claim that they earned it. But God says, trust me. Do what I tell you. Now, going to our gospel lesson, we're going to see one variation on this. Is God going to always do what we want him to do? Well, the leper in our gospel lesson comes to Jesus. He knows the story about Naaman and what happened with Naaman, that he was indeed healed of his leprosy. But he comes to Jesus with these words, "If you will, I know that you can heal me." There's a big key right there. The leper in the gospel lesson recognized that God's answer to our request is not always, "Yes, I'm going to do that." When the Apostle Paul asked that the thorn in his side be removed, the answer to him was, "My grace is sufficient for you." And I know in different situations in my life, at least, I have seen where God has said, "No, that is not what I will at this time." It may not be his will at any time. But there's a couple of things that I try to keep in mind, characterized by a couple of songs that I've heard over the years and have stuck with me. One is a country song that Garth Brooks sang, Unanswered Prayers. Thank God for unanswered prayers. Basically, the song is about the fact that God may not answer our prayers the way we thought we wanted them answered. But he usually always, no, he doesn't usually always, he always has a better answer. And the other song that always comes to mind, that I can't remember the singer's name, Sue, you can help me out if you trust his love. Cynthia Clausen. When you don't understand, trust God's love. You know, God made you. Each and every one of you. You are his children. He wants the best for you. And at times, when we're acting like Naaman, we need to remember that whatever is going on in our lives, that we can learn from Naaman. Take our problem to God. Do what God tells us to do. And trust God's love. When we do that, we can know the peace that only God can give. May that peace be yours. In Jesus' name, amen.